Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
And I'm John Thomas. If it's haunted, cursed, or just plain weird, I'm into it. From paranormal encounters to horror movie deep dives, urban legends, count me in.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our paranormal pals out there? In today's episode, we have the Way Out West Paranormal group from Wyoming joining us. Welcome to the show, Way Out West.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hello.
So excited to have you on. So I would love to start off with just introducing ourselves. This is the Way Out West Paranormal group. Who makes up the group?
That is going to be me, Aaron, co-founder with my wife, Gina, and then our audio video guy and investigator, Jason, and investigator, Michelle.
Welcome, everybody. So nice to see your lovely faces. Now, how long has Way Out West Paranormal group been a group?
That is a good and long answer question. So
We love long answers.
Way Out West kind of started in 2020. But before that, Gina and I were investigating many places. In fact, I proposed to her on a ghost tour in Prescott, Arizona. It was fun. We had the haunted room at the Hasayampa Inn in Prescott. So it was great. So 2020, went to go help with some events and started Way Out West. 22, we decided we want to add some people and started adding people.
How did you find your people?
Facebook. we posted an ad and asked people to send in if they were interested or not, and we really did send them an application of sorts that they would then fill out, send back to us, and we interviewed them.
We had investigated the Knights of Pythias building in Cheyenne, and Jason is a member of the Knights. So we kind of had a relationship there. We started looking for audio video guy because we wanted to start filming and making episodes. And he threw his hat in the ring, and we were like, there we go. We're good. We're just picking
End it now.
You're like, we got our team. We're solid.
Yeah.
Michelle had a little bit more interesting of an interview as we decided to throw her right into the fire, and we did an investigation with her to see her style and how she fit in with the team.
Where was the investigation?
Oh, where else would it be?
The
Knights of Pythias.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of our home hunt. You know,
I was going to say, I'm sensing a theme here.
every team kind of has that place that they love going to, or it's their place. And Jason being a member of the Knights, we have that opportunity. They've even dubbed the pool room our clubhouse, and we're pretty happy with that. Such a great organization to be able to back and help us as well.
I've always been curious, what exactly is the Knights of Pythias? So I think it's fortuitous, Jason, that you're on here, because what exactly is the Knights of Pythias?
Yeah, so the Knights of Pythias is a fraternal organization. We focus around community outreach. So our big community outreach in Cheyenne is the haunted house that runs for the month of October, and then proceeds from that go to various local charities.
And you work the haunts, right?
I do, yeah. I help run security, been setting up rooms. I do all the audio for each of the rooms. So yeah, I usually start about August to get going on it for October.
That's fun.
It's a blast.
Now, being that you're based in Wyoming, you can go hours and hours and hours driving Wyoming and not see much. So, and I say that with love because it's an absolutely beautiful state. But with that said, is there a big paranormal community in Wyoming?
In Wyoming, it's a little tough because, like you said, we do go hours. So, we've been to Kansas and Montana. We're driving 10 hours to do an investigation. But the community, as far as like accepting us or bringing us in, is great. We host events, and we've sold out almost all our events. We did a team collab event, and we invited 13 teams along the Front Range down into Colorado, and we had 6 or 7 teams come up, and yeah, it's great. Jason and I like to talk about the para-unity, and we see a ton of stuff on the coast where people are having issues, and it's all this. And I think when you get this side of the Mississippi, we have a different philosophy. Out here stuff is so far away, so if something happens, you're helping your neighbors. I think that's you see that unity out here a little more. We invite these teams, they come up and investigate it with us. It's a great community.
Yeah, and you guys have Victoria up Jay, right? Up there with you guys. That's where she's based
Yeah.
out of. And with that event, that was one of the events that I went to that I thought was really, really fun. Got to meet just it's fun to just see all the different people, and it was close for me for a change. Usually I'm driving like 3 hours to get somewhere, but yeah, I think you guys put on a really good event, and it was nice to have both like a speaker and a investigation, which isn't always like a thing that happens, and on demonology too, which was really cool. um but I want to know about the place itself. Like, what brings you guys back there all the time? I know you have an inn there, but like, what kind of experiences have you guys had?
So I'd say the variety is what seems to bring everybody back to the Knights of Pythias. It's that place has so many layers to it, and so many different spirits through that are there. It seems like we're always trying to peel back a different story. And Aaron, if you want to go into um, the guy, the salesman, I'm blanking on his name right now, but that was one we had no idea about until Way Out West started investigating, and Aaron had come across this person in Cheyenne that was tried and convicted for murder. Um, and like I said, we had no idea about a spirit like that being present in the nights. But it seems like we've got the standard. We've got V up on the stage. Her remains were found there probably about 30 years ago now. Um, and then working a lot in the basement, we're uncovering more and more different spirits that are down there, including an 8-year-old girl named Katie.
Katie is amazing. Gina can tell you more about her for sure.
Um, well, tell you more about Katie. She likes to follow us around, and I think, and she's young. Obviously, she's a little girl, and it's interesting that she's in the haunted house area of the Knights of Pythias. Eventually, we'll get out of her why she's there, I hope. But she likes to play. We can hear her every now and then with our own ears, and we think we've probably seen out of the corner of our eye. I don't know. Gosh.
The spirits in the basement, we know of at least 4 that we've talked to and have gotten answers from. I feel that there's many more. And then the same upstairs. So the Knights of Pythias building was built in 1884. It's one of the original buildings to Cheyenne. The Knights are probably the longest landowners in the city of Cheyenne. When you start looking at like ranches that have been handed down and stuff, that's outside the town. But in downtown Cheyenne, they've owned this building since 1884. It was built for them. It's a 2-story building. The top floor is theirs. That's where you're going to find their dining room, their sister's lodge, a billiards room, and then their lodge floor with a stage on it. The main floor has street entrance. They've always rented that out as income for the building to be able to pay the bills. It's been a hardware store. It's been a drugstore. It's been a book and record exchange. It's been a flea market, and currently it's a comic book shop. And then we have the basement. The basement is where the Knights host their haunted house every October. And they do this to bring money in to be able to donate to charities in the city of Cheyenne. I got to go down and see how it runs this year and sit with them and go through with the groups and Jason. And what these guys do is amazing, and they're going to change it up. Like every room is going to change next year, so it's not going to be the same. It takes a lot of time, and I have thrown my hat into the ring with them and said, "Hey, I'll help. You guys do so much for us. We want to help too." So the spirits, I think Michelle's probably even had interaction with stuff as far as spirits in the basement that she would talk about.
I'll never forget. I think it was my first night investigating with you guys was the night that we heard the growl in the basement. I'm like, well, this is awesome. I was like super stoked. But that was really crazy. I don't think I've been touched down there yet, but I feel like we always hear like breathing, like breaths. And we also hear like what sounds like somebody moving around like in the next room. Like it's like never in the room that we're hanging out in. It's always the next room or the next room after that. But we hear like pebbles being thrown. Pebbles will get thrown at Jason. But yeah, we've had a lot of crazy experiences down there. I think that the energy is way different from upstairs in the basement. It's just like totally a total shift when you walk down the stairs, but it's a lot of fun. I really like going back there. I think of all of the places that we've investigated, I think that the Knights is one of the most active that we've been to. And I think that's why I like going back there.
I think one of the coolest things about investigating the Knights and going back so often is we're creating a relationship with the spirits there, and we're finding out more and more about those spirits. And I think more spirits are coming forward as they're getting comfortable with us as well.
Some paranormal investigators that go there, maybe they don't get anything, but like when you guys come to the groups, right? When each one of you can kind of come over, then we start going, and I'm like, well, it's because you're there. Like they know you guys, they're familiar, and so maybe they're more comfortable.
Well, you've been there, and you know, you, I don't know what device you were using, or if it was like EVP where it said something about music, and then you went up on the stage and you played them some music. It's making that connection that gets us that type of evidence that we get there.
Now, what was your first paranormal experience? Like what got you into this? I know those are two separate questions. So let's start with, do you remember your first paranormal experience?
Yes, I'll start. I was raised in Pine Ridge, South Dakota on the reservation, so I would spend most of my summers up there and a lot of time during the school year as a kid. It was a small house that had 2 bedrooms and then a combined living room into a kitchen. Both sets of grandparents were in the bedroom, so I slept on the couch, and I would hear footsteps all night going through the house right next to me because I'm right there. So that would be my first experience with the paranormal. Probably 7, 8 years old.
Since I was very young, I have thought I heard things or seen things, but I let that go. I didn't really think too much of it until I was a young adult, hanging out with some friends, and we wanted to talk spooky stuff. We were in one of my friends' houses, and I thought I was being funny and cool and saying what I heard about a young spirit who maybe plays peekaboo with their kid. And I was saying some things about this young spirit. My friend started crying, and she left the room, came back with a picture of a baby that she had that was stillborn. And everything that I had said made her believe that it was this first child of hers that didn't make it. And that is when I decided to start listening to myself. Up until then, I guess I didn't understand the whole hearing things, clairaudience stuff. But that's where I started really getting into it and tuning into it.
What age was that?
Young adult is what I'm going to say, probably 22-ish.
Yeah, I'd say mine. I, grew up first part of my life in Vermont. We lived out in the middle of nowhere, dirt road, heavy woods, everywhere. Just small community. And my best friend at the time lived in an old building that was, first it was a church back in the 1700s, and then it was a school. And then sometime probably early 1900s it was converted into a home. Still had the bells in the steeple. And as kids, it would take both of us to hop up and like tug down on these ropes, right, to get this massive bell start ringing up there in the tower. And I stayed over at his house one night, and it was sometime after midnight. These bells just start going off for no reason, and we run out of his room and we go into the room that these ropes are coming down from the ceiling, and the ropes are just going crazy, going up and down with nobody there, and his parents were asleep. And then we'd hear the usual footsteps and voices and stuff like that. And so like 8 or 9 years old, we started investigating, right? This was back in the early 80s. So we didn't have anything, except for just really going out and, getting personal experiences. There was an old graveyard right across the street that used to be maintained by that church. And so, we'd have the dares who can go to the end of the graveyard in the middle of the night, right? And stuff like that. And that's what really got me hooked on it.
Now, Jason, my only question is, did you ever figure out for whom the bell tolls?
No, always ask that.
I'm
Great
sorry,
fans
I
ask
had
that as
to.
well.
I had to.
Yep.
All right, Michelle, your turn.
When I was growing up in Cheyenne, we lived in a pretty haunted house in town. I think I lived there from the ages of like 5 to 9. At the time, I didn't really think it was like anything crazy, but looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that place was like really intense. I would see like lights, like light anomalies in the kitchen. We would have what was kind of just like black smoke or black fog that would hang out in mine and my brother's bedroom. And then we had some like poltergeist activity in there too. Like our cabinet doors in the kitchen would be open. We would have magazines from the bathroom that would just like end up on the hallway. I think the most intense experience, it was in the middle of the day and we were going to go out shopping. We loaded up in the car and my mom like forgot something in the house. She goes back inside and all the cabinet doors in the kitchen were open. And then all of the magazines from the bathroom were placed like stepping stones in a hallway. And I wasn't like super freaked out at the time when we would talk about it. But now looking back, I'm like, dang, I really wish we could get in there somehow and investigate it. But yeah,
I was
that
just
place
thinking
was
that. I'm like,
crazy.
we have got to go to this place.
He's like, write down the address.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm in town, I just like drive by it and then I just like freak myself out. I'm like, okay, gotta go.
You should just go knock on the door and be like, all right, is there any crazy stuff going on here?
I've honestly thought about it. It's pretty close to the cemetery in town. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that place was insane.
What would you say to the people that live there?
To get in the house?
I would probably like not mention anything paranormal at first. Just be like, I used to live here. I had so many amazing memories. Can I see my old bedroom? And then just be like looking around every corner, like, where's he at?
You just come in with a stack of magazines. You're like, I just want to test something. Okay.
I just want to test this out. Yeah.
Now, Gina, you mentioned you clairaudience and developing those gifts. Do any of the rest of the Way Out West Paranormal group have gifts in that vein? Any of the other clairaudiences or anything like that? Clairs. I should say any of the clairs. I have words.
I feel like I'm sensitive. I lived down south for a while when I was younger. And I remember walking into my little brother's elementary school with my mom, and we were walking up like a set of stairs. And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I feel really weird in here. And she looked at me and she said, that's because there's spirits here and it's haunted. And I've always like remembered that feeling that I felt. And sometimes I can walk in a building and just like feel that without even like thinking of it prior. but I don't, I don't hear like the voices. I see stuff sometimes, but I think that I'm just more like I can feel presences.
I mean, the fact that your mom responded that way speaks volumes too.
Yeah, it's genetic.
Yeah, and I tend to get, like the gut feelings. I've always been like a go with your gut type of person, and usually the gut feeling's right for me. Um, and then, yeah, I think, maybe a little on the sensitive side if we're at a location, I can kind of tell, if you're walking into something or something comes into the room. And then it's so hard to tell with seeing stuff because so many people see stuff at the nights. And, that's one of the main places I see things out of the corner of my eye. And, I know Aaron doesn't consider himself sensitive, but he sees it too. So I don't know if that's really sensitive or not, or, if it's just, cool stuff that happens, right?
Mine's like that electric feeling. Like the one room we always go into and you get that feeling. And I've said it before, like when we've been in there and I'm like, something's off tonight. Like something seems a little more grumpier than usual. And it's just this electric feeling. I don't even know how to describe it other than like electricity.
That sounds like it's sensitive to me, Aaron.
I don't know. Maybe.
Now, saying that, do you guys take turns like doing the Estes method, or are you guys, does it matter? Do you guys just switch it up depending on the night? Or some of you
That's
just,
funny.
So, our thing is a double Estes. So we use the SB11 to do that. And I'll tell you, Gina and Jason together, it's like this power bank, or it's something that really draws the spirits in, to the point where I stop asking questions, or Michelle stops asking. We just don't even ask questions anymore. And the spirits will start talking back and forth to each other. So those two on the double Estes are phenomenal.
But lately, we've started using I don't even know what it's called, like a chooser app where we put all of our names into a spinny circle thing and we hit it on our phone and it chooses who does the double Estes. So we've all had a turn with each other to do the double Estes.
It's seeing these two. It's different when they do it together.
It's
Yeah,
actually
I
been
call
a
Gina
while
my
since we've
Estes
done it
generator.
together.
It has been, yeah. And yeah, like one of the most blatant ones with us is I think the first time it was your first Estes at all.
It
And
was.
our first time doing a double Estes together. And I am not a person that gets like visual anything, right, on the sensitive side. But for some reason during this Estes, we were in the vault of a museum. Um, and all of a sudden it was like this picture just, I mean, slammed right in my face. And it was this big tall cliff with a waterfall and a tree on each side of the waterfall, crystal clear. So I start describing that, and Gina starts going, he sees. And, going back and watching the video of that was something else. Because she was just confirming, everything I was seeing. And obviously, we both have noise canceling headphones on. We both have blindfolds on. So, seeing that was kind of our first experience together. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal preferred method when you first investigate a property? Like some people like to use tools and kind of go through spaces, others just want to feel the space out. Do you have a preferred method on your personal kind of when you're first interacting with the space?
I think we just kind of go in and sit there for a while and just get the vibe of the building. That's really what we've done everywhere we've investigated. I think we set up our stuff, or we gather, we bring our stuff in, we get it together, and we're figuring out what we're going to do. But we really just kind of sit there and talk and just kind of feel the building. Multiple floors, we'll kind of do that. We'll go to the next floor and just kind of hang out for a little bit and just get that vibe.
Have you ever gotten a vibe that you're just like, I don't want to investigate this space?
Yes.
Just recently.
Yes.
Labor Day weekend is our go somewhere. We're always going somewhere because we're in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We have to travel everything, right? But Labor Day weekend is our travel somewhere. So we went to Butte, Montana. and we went to the Dumas brothel. Brothel from 1890 to 1982. Just a crazy place. Much like most mining towns or old west towns, had tunnels underneath of it that led into the brothel. So we do our investigation on the main floor, and I don't know, we may have even done the second floor, but we head to the basement. And Michelle is our, I'll go in anywhere, I'll do a solo right now, let me in the building. And she wants to go and just let me just do it. We get to the basement and we're standing there, and I look over, and this is like the first time I've ever seen like a scared look on her face. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No,
No.
I'm actually a little scared." So there is that vibe where it does change, and we ran into it even the second night. You know, we split up into two groups. We let the girls go together, and Jason and I went together to see what a brothel will do, for men and women. So we start in the basement, and we're filming in some white light, and across a ovilus or something became turn off your headlight. Miners used to have the headlamps. So Jason has the white light on his camera, and I was like, well, let's turn it off. Everything was great, and we were having a good investigation. We turned that off, and the vibe changed 180 degrees. So I think what I finally had thought about was like the miners. All the miners would come through the basement, we're in the bar area of it, and they use that darkness to their advantage. As soon as the light went out, it completely changed. It was just like the night before, and we used no white light the night before. So it's a cool place. It's a really neat place.
Michelle, what did you feel? What was so different from that place?
I just felt like something was about to happen and I didn't know what it was. I was just anticipating that I was going to kick into fight or flight moment at any moment. It's really hard to say. I feel like the second night was also spooky, but the second night had a completely different vibe from the first night. And I don't know if that was because we were used to investigating, but when Gina and I went down together the second night, it was just way different. And for some reason, my flashlights would not work in that building. Jason even let me borrow one of his nice flashlights and it didn't work. But then as soon as we get back, it's fine.
Yeah, so weird.
Super weird. But yeah, Aaron, when you're talking about the miners, that totally makes sense. But I think that the first night, it just felt, I don't want to say negative. The second night felt more sad.
Ominous.
Yeah, the second night felt more sad, but the first night just felt like I needed to run out of there, and I didn't know why.
Oh, and that was the night you did the Estes, right, Aaron? The first night?
Yeah, the first night. So, Gina and I have been investigating since 2013 when we got together. We've been to many places. And then these guys for a couple of years now, and everyone's been touched. I've never been touched. We get to Dumas first night, and I'm touched on my face. And I'm like, this is weird. I don't know what to do. I just kind of stand there, and I'm like, what's going on? And what is this? So that goes away. And then we do the spin for the Estes, and it's Michelle and I. So we're in the bar area in the basement, and it was so crazy. So we sit down, and the door's to my right. The tunnel is on the left wall and goes back. Michelle sits down to my left, and we get everything ready. We put the headphones on, and honestly, if it was a minute and a half that I was pulling mine off, it was probably much less than that. But in that amount of time, the amount of words and getting touched 3 times, I was like, it's too much. I can't. It was just overstimulating. It was too much. And she's over there just continuing. I take it off. I'm like, okay, I can't do this. It is too much. And she's just
it was scary.
talking and going,
Yeah.
and then comes out and says, I only stayed under because I knew you guys were between me and the door because Jason took my spot. And I'm like, I didn't even make it.
Nope. The first touch, I would have noped right out of there. No
Yeah.
touchy.
Yeah, and then I took Aaron's spot, and I mean, I felt like someone was going to swing on me. And I think I vocalized that a couple times where, like, I
Mhm.
feel something just like towering over me on my right side, and I'm about to get sucker punched. Like, it was the weirdest feeling. Like, whatever, yeah, it wasn't happy that me or Aaron were doing the Estes. I really think it wanted to talk with the girls, or it was starting to get protective over the girls, maybe. But yeah, it was definitely a strange experience doing an Estes there.
Is there a moment that you know that you're just like, okay, we got to stop, or is it just kind of whenever, I guess, anything happens? Like, how do you guys determine when to stop or when to move to a next room, or when how long to stay in it? Is it just kind of whenever you feel?
So with that one, it was just that overstimulation for me. As far as when we keep, when we put people under, um, we're looking at least 30 minutes. If we're getting good communication, then we'll keep going. Um, and we have. There's so many places that we've gotten good communication. And then it's like, look, you guys were like 45 minutes. And, anyone that's been under knows that it can be draining when you're done or even into the next day. So yeah, we try to get some good communication and then pull people out. But if it continues, we're just going to go with it. And I think we all kind of realize we're going to do that. And if it does go that long, it does.
Now, you each experienced paranormal experiences at young ages. At what point did you decide, okay, I've experienced it, now I want to investigate it?
For me, I think it was when we got together, Gina and I got together and realized that we both had an interest in the paranormal. Um, and that just led to that, you know, ghost tour and proposal. And then we've done like anniversary trips to places where we just investigate. We went to Salt Lake City for one of our wedding anniversaries and we investigated the Fear Factory and did their ghost tour where they drive you around town. And I think Tombstone was one that we did a wedding anniversary to. So I think it was for us, it was that connection and knowing we were both interested in it.
I think Salt Lake City is the most intense place I've been in terms of like paranormal activity in such a localized area.
Jason grew up over there.
What about you, Michelle?
For me, I think that the ghost hunting shows is kind of what did it for me. I obviously there's the big ones, that are on like the Travel Channel and whatnot that I always watched, but I started getting into a lot of the like amateur investigators on YouTube. And I started watching more and more of those. About like, I want to say 10 years ago is really when I started like going down the rabbit hole of all of the different channels. And then I kind of started slow and got myself my own little EMF meter and kind of started doing just like solo things. I went to Velisca with my boyfriend, not last summer, but the summer before, to just do like a mini investigation. And literally all we had was one EMF meter. We stayed the night at this house and I was just like, this is so much fun. I'm loving this. And I'm super, super thankful that I was able to find the Way Out West group and they kind of took me in and now I'm living the dream.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it was, I was always interested, as I said, as a kid. And then, I was in the military, and heard about some, strange things happening, especially overseas. And then I was stationed at an old prison in Iraq. And one of my buddies went into part of the old prison and caught almost like it wasn't quite a shadow figure, but it was like an outline of a person laying on one of the old racks in one of the cells. And that's what really started getting me interested. And like, okay, you can, right, collect evidence, right? You can, instead of just like going out and seeing what happens, you can take pictures and you can do this. And then ghost hunters, came on. I think they started in around 2004. And that's when it really kind of, kicked into gear for me was like, oh, cool, you can, there is stuff out there that you can use, because I didn't know about EMF meters or any of that. So that's what kind of, got my interest in actually investigating, kind of pushing the line over from curious to obsessed, I guess. And then from there, yeah, just started going from there and getting in any place I could and seeing what was there.
And this one actually is for you, Jason, about your because I've watched you guys post some things online, and the equipment that you guys use is awesome. I love it. Like the cameras, the audio, all of the stuff that you guys use, all the paranormal tools as well. Were you a filmmaker at some point as well? Because I feel like the stuff that you use is what a lot of people use for filmmaking, and you know.
Um, so not, yeah, just as a hobby. I really started during my last deployment to Iraq. They wanted a deployment video to send back to all the families. So I put that together, edited it, and got to be able to send that back to the families to see what the guys are doing overseas and showing them that everyone's all right. And that's kind of kick-started the hobby for me of doing that. And then didn't get a chance to do it a lot. I was pretty busy after I got out. I worked in the oil field, which takes up all your time. So yeah, really joining Way Out West got me, to be able to start doing that again. And so yeah, it's been good. But no, that's about my only experience with it.
I have a question. So you mentioned you work in the oil field. Oil accidents happen a lot. Do you happen I grew up in oil Texas, so like it's about the oil fields. And I'm curious, do you see a lot of paranormal activity out at the oil fields and the oil locations?
I'm sure you would if you looked for it. I was so busy. I was working 120, 130 hours a week. It was, I drive for 14 hours, get to a rig, hurry up and fix what was going on. Because I wasn't a roughneck. I was a field service tech. So I was working on the electronics out there. So it was just, get to one rig, fix it, drive to the next. So I really didn't have time for anything. I've been through some spooky places. Southern New Mexico, definitely a lot going on there. Weird lights in the sky. You're out in the middle of the desert by yourself, right? Driving out to this rig that's 90 miles off a hardball road. So stuff like that, but I never got the chance to investigate on an oil rig or a drilling site.
I know where we're going next.
Let's do it.
I'm down.
Is there a place you guys want to go to next?
So we have a show, right? And this is something that we ask people to. And I always feel people have like one in the States and one overseas. So I know we all have one of each. So in the States, it is District 6 Precinct in Detroit, and overseas is Lep Castle in Ireland.
And for me, I want to see the Villisca Axe Murder House really bad. And overseas, I'm so intrigued by the Suicide Forest. I think there are so many stories to tell there, and I would like to try to hear them.
For me, the U.S. ones always seem to change. About a month ago, we talked to Penn Paranormal on our podcast, and they told me about their experience at the Garnet House in Garnet, Kansas. And so I have been obsessively watching all the videos and reading everything I can about that place lately. And then international one, I would have to say the Hellfire Club in Ireland. Old satanic worship from the medieval ages on up, this secret society that was performing sacrifices and stuff. I would love to be able to go and check that place out.
For me, my in-state bucket list is Waverly Hill Sanatorium. I've watched documentaries on that place for years and years, and it just looks so cool. And my international spot is, I don't know the correct name for it, but it's the Doll Island in Mexico. Island of Dolls, maybe is what it's called. I'm not sure.
Aaron's shaking his head. Nope.
Yep. Island of the Dolls. That place sounds so cool. Count me in.
Yeah.
Out in Waverly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is we were doing our what do we call it, the spinny thing, to determine where we're going for Labor Day, and it's like
Super
everyone has
technical
such a
terms.
The
super
spinny thing.
technical, guys. The spinny thing. And it's like we were talking. It's like, you know what, this is awesome. Even if my place doesn't get chosen, like none of us are losing on this, right? Like we all, going to any of these, just amazing locations is going to be a win, right? So
Being that you're in Wyoming and there's a lot of ruins there, are there any areas of land that you have investigated that aren't dedicated to like a building, but more so the property itself?
Aaron and I did one a couple months ago. Yeah, there's well, and this one isn't really a ruin, but it is a old pioneer cemetery, located out in just out in the middle of nowhere in southeastern Wyoming. And there's some stories. One kid was struck by lightning riding his horse back to Laramie. A couple young children died of like yellow fever. And really it's just, some pieces of wood formed into crosses out there in the middle of the prairie. And so yeah, we went out there one night and spent a couple hours out there, and we were getting some interesting results. I think whatever's out there, we've got to spend a little more time and kind of let them get used to us, because I think it would probably be quite a shock for someone that's maybe stuck out in the middle of the prairie to all of a sudden have REM pods and yes no prisms and all this set up. They're like, what the heck is this? So I think we do need to spend some more time out there and see if we can get a little more results.
And this is why I have these guys to remember stuff that I don't.
It's good. It means you're active. You stay busy.
We do.
I did notice that you guys have talked about, and a lot of the things that you guys do, you do it over a couple of days, right? Usually, when you go someplace, it's not just a one-time thing. It's like and I feel like, is there a reason why you do that? Why is it that you go more than one day?
So we recently just started doing that this year. So Labor Day 24, we went to Kansas to the Whiteface House. And then we investigated. And then the next day, we really had a bunch of questions and we couldn't get in the building again. So when we decided what we were going to do, we're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. It's going to take us a little more work and we need to save up, but we're going to start doing 2 nights. That way we can, maybe go through some evidence during the day, the next day, and go back with more questions. So this year was really our first time doing that at Dumas. And then we did take a trip in July out to Gettysburg as a team. It was just kind of a vacation thing that Gene and I were going to do. We threw it out to everyone else and they're like, we'll go. So being in Gettysburg for a week, we were able to do a couple different spots, but everyone knows that that's kind of a paranormal playground, right? Because 50,000 people died and anywhere you go, you can run into something. So we had those other nights, but it's something that we just started. And because we have to travel so far to get, somewhere good, you guys know, you're just in Colorado. To get anywhere decent, we're traveling 10 to 12 hours or more. So we're gonna spend that extra to get a second night and be able to get some good evidence.
Is there anything that you have to do or that you choose to do individually, but also as a group, to prepare yourself for these investigations in more of like a metaphysical, spiritual way to protect yourselves? Or do you think that's necessary?
We do not do anything as a group. I think everyone does their own individual stuff. This has been asked of us before. I know I do something before we start a group investigation. I think we all have our own kind of protection at the beginning that we do.
Yeah, like I think for me the big one is, just kind of like, I guess, centering my energy before going into a place, right? Yeah, I don't want to go in with negative energy if, say, I had, a bad day or something, right? I think that can, affect, the type of experience and type of interaction you're going to get. And I don't want, something I can't see, right? Having a bad day and bringing bad vibes to me. So I try to go in, just as clear as I can, looking forward to the encounters.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. I think centering yourself is really important. I usually try to carry a couple of protective stones on me. I know that, like, collectively as a group, though, when we leave a place, I feel like all of us say, "You can't follow me home. Don't follow us home." I feel like that's like one thing we do collectively. But I think that a lot of it is like part of your mindset too. Like if you're having a bad day, like sadness, anger, depression, I think those are the days that are kind of like more tough. I think it's important to like pay attention to your mental state when you're investigating, because I feel like it could affect it a lot. But I think that, like, for us, we're so passionate about it, and we come in with positive attitudes anyway. I think that helps a lot.
Well, then you have each other to lean on when things are getting tough or whatever. And be like, get excited. We're gonna have some fun tonight, right? That kind of thing. And I think that's what's great about having a group that you guys have done this a while now. That you guys can, help each other when things are that way, and that way when you go in, that hopefully you get some good stuff, right?
Right.
We've talked about that before too. It's bigger than that for us. We're not just friends, we've kind of become a family, and there's that huge element of trust. When you're going into some of these places, you're very vulnerable, especially if you're going to put on a blindfold and headphones that you can't hear anything. You have to be able to trust the people around you. And I know I can say confidently I trust all three of them with my life wherever we're at.
Yeah, likewise. And I was just about to bring up that same thing, Gina, with Dumas. It really showed when Michelle was under the Estes. She got done and she told us, she was like, something was telling me I'm going to take this blindfold off and nobody's going to be in the room with me. You guys have left to go upstairs or something, but I knew you wouldn't do that to me. And that's what kind of got me through that. And that really showed, the trust that we have, I think, as a team, that we can do that. And even if something is like projecting on you and trying to make you insecure or vulnerable, that, having a team there of people, have their backs makes all the difference.
And it goes back to, like Gina just said, family. When we do these trips, it's not just the four of us. Gina and I are together, of course, but like Jason's wife and his son came when we went to Montana. When we went to Gettysburg, his wife and then Michelle's boyfriend Graham came with us. So it is a family, and um, I always like to thank them for joining me. This is something that I wanted to do for quite a while, and thank them that something that they like and are able to help me, with some of the goals that I've set.
Now, I know you entered the paranormal investigation world because of interest and curiosity. What is your why that keeps you investigating?
My why, and I always ask this question, is: when we pass, are we stuck to one place? I don't want to be stuck to one place. I want to go to Tombstone. I'm an Old West junkie. So I want to go to Tombstone. I want to go to Lincoln, New Mexico, and the places I go to now. Except, like, are we on the same plane as Wyatt and Doc and Billy the Kid? Once we pass, or is that even a different plane? But are we stuck in one place, or do we get to go somewhere else? I haven't gotten the answer to that.
I'm thinking you're the one who named Way Out West, didn't you?
Yes.
I love it. All right.
Yeah. My why is really simple. I wish it was deeper, but um, we're empty nesters. Our kids are all moved out, and it's something fun to do and it's not just a hobby. And I get to hang out with my husband and great friends. So we do spooky stuff together. It's just something we do.
I do it because of the learning experience. I feel like the science behind paranormal is still fairly new. I think that humanity is still learning a lot about that. And I think it's really exciting to be some of the first people to like use certain tools and do, investigations and things like that. Like, I know people have been investigating for years and years, but I think that it's still something that like we don't fully understand yet. And I don't expect to know anything by the time I die. I think that it's just really interesting to kind of like go through the process of learning the different aspects of the science behind the paranormal. I just find it super interesting.
My big question is what happens when we're gone, right? Do we continue on? Does our energy take another form that, is able to, see what's going on or experience different places, like Aaron said? And then number two is more selfish. I like the adrenaline rush. I like being in a dark room and, something slams and you get that, oh crap, what is that? Right? Like I love when that happens. More active the place, the better for me.
Now, do you guys have any experiences that you haven't had that you want to have?
Well, I guess I'd always want to be touched, and that happened.
No, Aaron,
So
no.
I was like, how come everyone else gets touched? And then it finally happened. It just took a brothel to do it.
Yep, you don't expect it, and then when it does happen, it's like, oh crap.
Yeah. Then it was too much. And I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yep, no more. Once was enough. Yep, exactly.
I mean, for me, we've had so much great stuff. As far as experiences, the touch, disembodied voices. Jason and I were doing some lighting stuff, and at the Knights of Pythias again, like this building gives us, if we talk about it, I think it'd give us anything we want, right? So we're doing lighting. I'm at the end of the lodge. He's up on the stage, and he says, "V, we're going to stick around and investigate a little bit. Is that okay?" And between us, in a girl's voice, we get, "Okay." So, and we had another disembodied voice in the basement that I thought was Gina, and she thought it was the gal we were hosting an event. She thought it was the gal in front of her, and it came from the room next to us. The growl. I mean, we've had some great stuff. As far as anything that happens from here on out, it just happens. There's nothing that I think we ever really expect or really want to happen, but we're good with whatever does. Jason, perfect example. Gettysburg.
Yep.
We're on the very front line where the Confederates set up the first day. We're asking questions. We're getting responses. He starts playing bugle sounds. We get footsteps that are coming in around us. Being former military, he's like, well, if the cannon is here, these guys are going to do this, and they're going to bed down like back here. So he goes into the woods. We got this great thermal. I have it on him. There is nothing else in there. And next thing we know, we hear what sounded like it could have been a 20-pound rock hit the ground. And I have the thermal on him, and all I see is the profile of him and the flashlight doing this. And he comes out and he goes, I don't know what that was. And I'm like, there was nothing there. Him and Michelle go back in, and something runs at him. I mean, we're a young group, but the amount of stuff that we've already captured is just, and again, I don't think we could ask for anything, but we sure are happy that anything happens, and if nothing's going to be there, then nothing's there. We film, we edit. BJ was talking about the equipment. Jason has become this video junkie who gets a camera and he's like, nope, I want a better one. And he gets a better camera, and we're getting great footage. So, we have some stuff on YouTube, and we have a lot of stuff that we're going through this year. We weren't able to do as much editing and stuff this year. Just a lot of stuff happened, and we have some great places that we're going to get out there. So, it goes back to that. If it happens, it happens. I don't think we're really asking for anything to happen. You're always asking when you're investigating, but if it's not there, we're not afraid to say it's not there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was going to say the exact same thing, Aaron.
Do you ever go back through your archives to see if maybe there's something you didn't catch the first time?
I don't, because I barely have time to go through what we have going up. And then just other stuff that we do, and most people that are like us, I'm sure you guys have full-time jobs, so we're working 40 hours a week. We're investigating when we can. Way Out West also hosts public investigations where people can come investigate with us at the Knights of Pythias. We host a ghost hunting 101 class for teens. And I'll tell you what, the first one I was like, okay. The second one, when we did it, I was like, this is amazing because these kids are coming up with questions that I would have never thought of. So I'm like, I'm going to start writing some of these down.
And they're pretty informed about some of the equipment and techniques. The kids are.
Right. And then we do stuff where, BJ came. So that was something new that we tried this year, this team collaboration thing. Why should we all be, not sharing and not communicating? My hope is, this year we hosted it. Maybe someone picks it up next year. Maybe a team in Colorado Springs or someone in Denver, and they find a place and they invite everyone down, and we get another 6 or 7 teams. And the building size, of course, matters. And we're lucky enough to have a good sized building and an organization that lets us in to use that and help us with that.
And I love the multi-team thing. You guys had such a I think that was fun to be able to just float to different teams a little bit and just to talk with people and just to hear their experiences and just to kind of they have tools, different tools than you have, and you can kind of, vibe with that and have some experiences there. And it was a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys did that, and I hope I can be a part of the next one.
Yeah, thanks. That was our hope that, teams don't just come in and they go do their thing, like intermingle. Maybe they do something different or you do something different they haven't seen and everyone gets to learn.
It's that sense of community building that you've been talking about, the para-unity.
Yeah.
So with the things that you host, the events, the workshops, where do you provide that information so people can find out when and where and so forth?
So we put that out on YouTube, or not YouTube. We put that out on our Facebook page. And so everyone can see that there. And then we make it into an event as well. So not only that, but then we're able to get it out and into, we've been putting it down into Fort Collins, Colorado and Denver, Colorado to pull people up from there too.
The team collab event was by invitation only. So we sought out other teams in the area and sent them an invitation. I think that we're all open to hearing from other teams. So if other teams in the area are interested in another one, maybe shoot us an email.
I would like to circle back to something I find really compelling, Gina, is that, out of the team, you've got this strong, clear audience and knowing. And your why was, well, I just kind of enjoy getting out and having fun. And it's like this interesting juxtaposition, right? You can interact with the spirits in a way a lot of people don't, right? And I love that you're like, oh, it's just fun. And it's also, I'm curious, like, what are the kind of stories that you're picking up from spirits in these spaces?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I have to tell you, I've been hearing things my whole life. So when we're using that part of me, it's intriguing because it's something that I just have had forever. And to trust it is new for me. I used to hear things and just keep it to myself. Aaron, Jason, and Michelle have helped me to trust and to say what I'm hearing, which is pretty cool. I guess I treat spirits like us. If they have something to say, cool. If not, that's cool. I'm hanging out with friends and my hubby. I think the equipment is cool, but my equipment has really always been my feelings and my brain, and it's just fun hanging out with good people.
I love so much that your team is helping you learn to embrace that part of you, because I'm a firm believer metaphysical gifts are just another form, it's another muscle. And so the more you train it, the more you use it, the stronger it's going to become, and just more like muscle memory you're creating, right? So that's exciting that you have this beautiful family you guys have cultivated to help you really embrace that.
Yeah, I really thank them.
I, I want to tell a story about Gina. So we go to this event in Deadwood, South Dakota. We drive 4.5 hours. We spend the night, and then we're going to this event. And we're in the basement, and the event goes on. And we end up staying down there talking to the guy that owns the event till about 3:30 in the morning. While we're doing this, it's at the Bullock Hotel. The Bullock was used as a hospital when the fevers came through, yellow fever, scarlet fever, all that kind of stuff. So in the basement, we have the K2 on the table and we're just talking about stuff. And Gina's like, oh, I feel there's this little girl here. So we start asking this little girl questions. And then she brings in a friend. And then Gina's like, oh, there's like a cowboy here. And I was like cowboy or miner? What are you getting? And I had a Black Hills gold ring on. I threw it on the table. I'm like, oh, there's some gold. And she's like, he's not impressed. Okay. This is not the first time that she had said stuff to me, like spirits. I think a spirit is saying. I was like, okay, he's not impressed. So we go to bed. We wake up early next morning. The back of the Bullock has an old bar where they serve breakfast. And it's kind of in a triangle shape. And we're sitting at the point of the triangle and at the flat part where the bar is, and they cook. These two girls sit down and they're like, what's this? It looks like a pool ball. And we're on the main floor. So down on the table the night before, the gentleman has a pool ball and lots of stuff, crystals and Civil War stuff and all this. And I was like, that's the pool ball from the basement. And she looks at me and she goes, the cowboy wants to know if you're impressed.
Nice.
So she's had this and she is amazing. And we've gotten great stuff. And like Katie in the basement of the nights and just different places, So yeah, we've helped her develop, but she's always had it since we've been together that I know of. And we went to the basement and the pool ball wasn't down there and they came upstairs and got it because that was theirs. So how it got from the basement to the main floor, only the cowboy knows.
But I bet you're impressed now.
Oh, I was like, what the heck?
So for people curious about the paranormal investigation world or beginners, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, just have fun. Stay respectful and, ask questions. You're speaking to somebody that, has way more experience than anybody on earth has right now. And, treat them with respect and they'll treat you with respect.
I echo what Jason is saying. If you're just now getting into the paranormal world, ask all the questions you want, but keep it respectful. I think that's a huge piece of it. Talk to them like you would want to be talked to. Nobody wants to go in like you're being grilled or in under a spotlight. So, yeah, keep it respectful and keep an open mind.
I agree with them also, but I think that doing your own research is really important. That's one thing that I did a lot of before I joined the team. I've read a ton of books and watched a ton of documentaries, and I think that that was really helpful when I started getting into it to kind of already have that knowledge base when you do start getting into investigating. But being respectful and being real to yourself and being real to the paranormal world, I think is really important, because we see a lot of people like faking evidence. And I think that it's important to stray away from that. I think we're really good at debunking things. We try to debunk things first off before we call anything paranormal. I think that's a really important part of investigating.
Trust your gut. If you feel you shouldn't be there, then don't be there. Be it just a grumpy spirit. Things can turn pretty quick. And if you're not supposed to be there, don't be there either. If it's a place that is unsafe, don't be there.
John, BJ, do you guys have any questions? I know I sometimes just like spitfire the things.
I guess one of my questions is, and I know we've talked about a little bit of stuff, but like, do you have any favorite like EVPs that you've caught?
Oh man, I used to do a ton of audio. I love audio. I love being able to hear those answers, but recently I've gotten away from it, and I'm like, I really need to start doing more digital recorder stuff. Um, as far as a favorite,
I think my favorite is at Fort Laramie. We actually just Aaron and I and my brother and my niece went to Fort Laramie. We went into a married soldier's quarters, like a duplex. And when we got to the top of the stairs, Aaron said, "You know, I'm going to stay here and do some EVP stuff." So my brother and I and my niece went down the stairs, and I had said, "Hey, let's mess with him and go up on the other side." So fast forward, Aaron comes down. We are all sitting on the porch, and he is pretty irritated with us for messing up his evidence. When in fact, we had nothing to do with it because we couldn't get into the other side. It was locked. So we sat the whole time on the porch, but he has clear footsteps and a door slamming as well.
yeah. So yeah, that's probably one of the coolest. Jason, I know you've investigated like the nights for a long time. Any audio things from up there?
Yeah, so couple. One of my favorites is back when I first started, like, I formed my own team for a while and we were up there and I sneezed during an EVP and nobody said bless you except for the spirit that said bless you that was caught on the recorder. That was pretty cool. And then, over the years, I've played around with just leaving recorders up at the nights overnight. Since, the comic book shop or before it was a flea market, they all closed relatively early. And then just going up and getting them and seeing what you get. And we've gotten objects that sound like they're being slammed against the floor, stuff rolling across the floor, footsteps, but nothing up there is disturbed. And I've left cameras up there with it as well, and no movement whatsoever, but you hear the footsteps on both the camera and the audio recorder.
We got some pretty good EVPs when we were in Blue Hill in that bedroom upstairs. We had somebody like cussing, and I don't remember exactly what was going on, but there was a lot happening
That was an interesting one.
in the room that I slept in.
Oh, well, you're brave. You like that.
I was so tired. I didn't even care. I was like, I'm out. And we had circus mice playing with cat balls, and it was a whole
That was her first trip with us too. It was a great initiation.
yeah.
That's when we learned she had,
Yeah.
may I say, a large set of lady balls and took the first solo in the very, very creepy basement.
Yeah.
Pretty impressed.
Yeah, you tried to kind of spring it on me. You're like, okay, Michelle, now you're going to go downstairs by yourself. And I was like, yes,
I know.
it is my time.
All right.
Hazing failed.
Yes.
Yeah, horribly.
Now, Aaron, you mentioned that you guys have a podcast. What is the name of your podcast and where can people find it?
So we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary,
Congratulations.
and thanks. We had some previous guests on, and it was a great time. Um, because I didn't think we were busy enough, I was like, "Hey, Jason, you want to do a podcast?" He's like, "I want to do a podcast." I'm like, "Cool, we'll start on this date." So it's called Unraveling the Darkness, and we kind of do this. We bring people on, teams that are starting out or teams that have been around for only a little bit, location owners. Um, this week, we're excited for this week. Richard Esto is going to be on our show. But they can find it. We do a live show on Wednesday nights, and that goes to our YouTube page and our Facebook page.
Do you have a specific time that it live streams?
7 p.m. Mountain.
Awesome. Do we have any final thoughts or questions before we start to wrap this amazing episode up? This has been so great. I've had a blast.
I just want to say thank you guys for coming on. There's so many questions, so many more stories to tell that I don't think one episode is enough. So we're definitely gonna have to have you on more for those stories for sure, and dive deep into some of these places, the metaphysical, maybe even do an investigation together. I don't know.
That would be cool.
Yeah. You guys are not that far away. You're more than welcome. I know Jason always offers up. I will let him do that. We appreciate you having us on. I know we're still a young team, only been around for a little bit. Um, you shake your head
Time
no.
flies.
Yeah, I guess 5 years now.
Well, and you're so close. You've cultivated this family and this tight connection, not only with yourselves, but with the community that you're in. That, like, you say 5 years, but it feels way much bigger than that.
Well, we appreciate that, and we do try to support the community too, and put out gift certificates to help charities raise money. And then even like BJ had mentioned Victoria. Victoria is a local author, a demon folklorist, and she works at the local library. So we were able to collab with her and Carrie Bergen out of Denver and did a paranormal panel during Halloween season. So again, it's building that community, and we do it different out west, right? Because we all support each other.
There is something special about the paranormal in the West. I will say that.
Yes, there is. And yeah, if we can get you all up to investigate the nights. I know BJ was up there, a couple months ago, and get Ashley and John up there would, make a night of it. Be fun.
I'll bring snacks.
Sweet, let's do
I
it.
like snacks.
Sweet.
Yes.
I'll bring that's my thing. My love language is to feed people. So,
Yes.
all right. Well, really, truly appreciate having each one of you on. This was so lovely, and like echoing what BJ said, like absolutely would love to have you on again. I feel like we just scratched the surface in terms of what you do as a community, but also your individual experiences. So, yeah, this has been really great.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
John, BJ, Ashley, thank you for having us.
BJ, would you like to bring us home?
Absolutely. So again, thank you to Jason, Michelle, Aaron, Gina, and Way Out West Paranormal. You guys have been awesome. Can't wait to hear more stories from you. And to everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast. With your hosts, I'm BJ Segura.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm John Thomas.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media. You don't want to miss our amazing guests like Way Out West Paranormal.
Also, don't forget to check out 300podcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Until next time.